AITA for asking my future in-laws for money. I-27F, make good money. Like, really good money. I work in senior level marketing in NYC and I pull in about $170K a year before bonuses. I bust my ass, but I like my job and I'm proud of what I've built. My fiance, Tim, 30M, is a high school history teacher. He's smart, sweet, does the whole I'm shaping young minds thing. His family, they're loaded. Old money. Tim has a trust fund, not buy a private island money, but low seven figures. He mostly lives on his teaching salary by choice because his family is weirdly obsessed with humble service. It's like their family brand. Anyway, we're getting married in September. Things were mostly fine until we had the conversation. So I'm sitting with Tim and his parents, Catherine and Charles, two names that should honestly come with pearl necklaces and tennis whites at their fancy-ass country club. We're talking wedding logistics, and out of nowhere, Catherine goes, "Of course, after the honeymoon, you'll be settling into your new role." I go, "Sorry, what role?" She tilts her head like I just barked at her. "Well, staying home, starting a family, supporting Tim." I laugh, not like a sarcastic laugh, like a real belly-deep laugh because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Dead serious. She goes, "Tim is the provider. It's emasculating when a woman earns more than her husband." I just blinked, like I couldn't even compute that this was real. I look at Tim expecting him to jump in. He just kind of sipped his water. "We talked about this," he mumbles. "No, we did not. We talked about kids eventually. We talked about work-life balance. Not once did he say, 'Hey babe, after the wedding, want to throw away your career and become a Pinterest wife?' So I go, "Okay, if you want me to give up a six-figure salary, what's the plan? What's the trade?" And Charles, who literally hasn't spoken to me directly in months, pipes up with, "There is no trade. That's what marriage is. Commitment. Bullshit." So I said, "Fine. Here's my compromise." I told them if I'm supposed to give up my job and future raises, they can set up an unrecoverable trust in my name. Each year, they contribute the equivalent of my gross earnings for the next 35 years. Match inflation, match promotions. That way I'm covered if, God forbid, things go south. They looked at me like I asked for one of their kidneys. Catherine stands up. "That's absolutely disgusting. You want us to pay you to marry our son?" I go, "No, I want to not be homeless if your son cheats on me in 10 years with a yoga instructor." Tim turns red. "Don't talk about us like that." I say, "I wouldn't if this weren't the weirdest power play I've ever seen." They storm out, no exaggeration, mid-salad. We drove back in silence. I asked him, "Do you agree with them?" He doesn't answer, just says, "I think you're making this more complicated than it needs to be." So I offered him a prenup. If I quit my job and we divorce, I get half his trust fund. Seems fair, right? Nope. That emasculates him too. My mom says I'm being transactional, but I'm not quitting a six-figure job to play Stepford wife with no parachute. So yeah, after that disaster brunch, I expected things to cool off. I figured maybe Catherine and Charles just needed to clutch their pearls and recover. Nope. Next morning, I wake up to a long-ass email from Tim's mom with the subject line, "Clarifying expectations." Because of course it starts there. She basically outlines my duties as a future wife. I shit you not, it read like a 1950s home economics syllabus. Cook, clean, host dinner parties, support Tim emotionally, raise well-adjusted, traditionally minded children. No mention of my goals, not one. She even said I should delete my LinkedIn as a show of good faith, like it's a hostage situation. I forwarded it to my mom. She responded with, "Jesus Christ, is she okay?" Anyway, I brought it up with Tim again. I said, "This is a massive red flag. I'm not doing this. I love you, but I didn't sign up to be a trophy." He said, and I quote, "You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not like they literally expect you to do all that. They just have a certain vision." A vision? What is this, The Handmaid's Tale? So I ask him flat out, "If I keep working, are you gonna resent me?" He shrugs. "I don't know, maybe a little." Cool, great. That's awesome to hear 6 months before our wedding. We paused wedding planning, told people we were reassessing some details, which is fiancé speak for we're in a cold war and might kill each other. Then came the group mediation. Yep, a family meeting, at their place in Greenwich, because apparently I'm that problematic now. Charles starts with, "We're concerned about your lack of respect for tradition." I said, "Tradition's cool when it works, but not when it bankrupts me emotionally and financially." Tim goes, "So what exactly do you want? Just money?" Me, "No, I want protection. I want agency. I want a life that doesn't get torched if this goes sideways." Catherine's like, "You act like you're already planning for divorce." And I said, "No, I'm planning not to get screwed if the worst happens. That's called being smart." Then she hits me with this gem. "If you truly loved Tim, you wouldn't need all these guarantees." I snapped. I said, "If your love for him was so unconditional, You'd support him no matter who he married, even if she didn't fit into your Victorian dollhouse fantasy. They lost it. Charles literally pointed at me and said, "You'll never be part of this family with that attitude." And I said, "You're damn right I won't if this is what family means." Tim just sat there, silent, not defending me, not even fidgeting, like he'd already accepted the role of background extra in his own marriage. On the way home, I told him, "You need to decide if you want a wife or an employee, because I'm not both." He didn't respond. 3 days later, I get a package from Catherine. No note, just a hardcover book titled The Power of a Praying Wife. Yeah, so now I'm here. We haven't spoken in a week. My therapist thinks I should push for counseling before we go any further. I'm seriously thinking about postponing the wedding, but part of me still wants to believe Tim isn't like them, that this is just family pressure, not who he really is. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I losing the man I love to a rich backwards family? Or did I just never really know him at all? Alright, so the silent treatment lasted 8 days. 8. On day 5, I cracked and texted Tim, "Are we just not talking until I agree to be June Cleaver?" He left me on read. Cool. Then, out of nowhere, he shows up at my apartment with pizza. Domino's. Which, thanks, I guess? It was like watching a man try to win back his girlfriend with a coupon code. He goes, "Can we talk?" I say, "Only if you actually talk, not nod and sip water like a hostage." He sits down, grabs a slice, and launches into the most half-assed TED Talk I've ever heard. Basically, he agrees things have gotten out of hand. He thinks his parents overstepped a little. Gee, thanks. He doesn't want to lose me, but he does think I'm being overly transactional. I nearly choked on my Diet Coke. I said, "Tim, if a company asked you to quit your job, give up your retirement plan, abandon any chance of promotions, and just hope they'd always take care of you, what would you say?" He goes, "That's not the same thing." "Yes," I said, "because they'd at least offer a severance package." Then brace yourself, he says this, "I just think relationships should be about trust, and you're acting like a CFO." I laughed, like actual head thrown back, pissed off laugh. I said, "That's rich coming from a guy who has a whole-ass trust fund but thinks I'm out of line for wanting a safety net." Then he hit me with, "You're not a gold digger, you're just calculated." And it was like, okay, now I see it. It's not about his parents, it's not even about money, it's about control. He wants the image. The teacher with the graceful, supportive wife who hosts brunch and volunteers at the PTA while he lectures on Gettysburg, and he thought I'd just fold into that. So I told him, "You don't want me. You want a rebrand of yourself." He got super defensive. "That's not fair." "No," I said, "what's not fair is asking me to throw my future into a blender and calling it love." He left. Again, no yelling, just walked out. Next day, I get a Venmo request from Charles. No joke, $143 for brunch and tip. From the day they stormed off. I was so stunned I thought it was a joke. I sent back 1 cent with the note. "Here's my respect for your values." Blocked him immediately after. I thought maybe that would be the rock bottom. Then Catherine posted on Facebook, publicly, a full post with a photo of her wedding day and the caption, "Some women know how to sacrifice for love. Others just see marriage as a hostile takeover." Comments were full of those creepy mutuals who write, "Preach, Queen," and post Bible verses in their bios. I couldn't even be mad. It was just sad. Except now my extended family saw it. My cousin DM'd me like, "Yo, are you in a Facebook war with a Kennedy?" Close enough. My mom called me and said, "Are you really going to throw away a good man over money?" And I just said, "It's not money, it's respect. And if I have to explain that, maybe I never had it from any of you." So yeah, we haven't officially called off the wedding, but I took off my ring. I emailed the venue to put our date on hold. I'm living on takeout and pure rage. The worst part? There's still a tiny part of me wondering if I'm being too harsh. Like, what if I really am treating this like a business deal? But then again, isn't marriage the biggest contract of all? It all came to a head the night we were supposed to meet our officiant. Yeah, because apparently we're still doing pre-wedding stuff even though we're one passive-aggressive brunch away from full-blown war. Tim texted me that morning like nothing ever happened. "Don't forget Reverend Mark is expecting us at 6:30. Bring the vows worksheet." The vows worksheet. I stared at that message for a solid 3 minutes thinking, is this man genuinely delusional or just trying to speedrun his way into denial? Anyway, I went. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to look this man in the eyes and see if he really still thought we were headed down the aisle. Reverend Mark is this sweet, balding guy with too many live, laugh, love signs in his office. He offered us peppermint tea and asked us to each read what we had written about our partner. Tim went first. He said, "What I love about me is that she challenges me, she makes me better, she's fiercely independent, and I admire that." Reverend Mark smiles. "Beautiful. And do you have yours?" I said, "Nope, I didn't bring it because I don't know what the hell we're doing anymore." Tim stiffened. We're here. That's something. I looked at him and said, is it though? Or are we just dragging this corpse of a relationship through the motions because you're too scared to call it? Silence. Reverend Mark looked like he wanted to melt into his couch. Tim finally said, you're being hostile. And I said, I'm being honest. You want me to give up everything and smile while your mom sends me passive-aggressive devotionals on Facebook Messenger. I'm the only one here who's not faking it. Reverend Mark tries to step in with some crap about navigating family dynamics and centering love. I thanked him and stood up. We're not doing this. Sorry for wasting your time. I left. Tim didn't follow. Later that night, Catherine called me. Not Tim, not even a text. His mom, she says, you've humiliated him enough. Either you agree to the marriage we've all planned or step aside so he can find someone who understands what commitment means. I said, funny. I thought commitment meant showing up for each other. All I've seen is control and cowardice. She goes, you're not a wife, you're a liability. I said, cool. Then tell your son I'm returning the ring tomorrow. I hung up, shaking, like full body pissed off shaking. I went into the closet, found the ring box buried under a pile of winter scarves, and just sat there holding it. It wasn't even the ring. It was everything it symbolized. The bullshit I'd swallowed. The compromises that weren't actually compromises. The way I'd twisted myself trying to fit into a life I never wanted. I texted Tim one last time. Let's meet tomorrow. I have something to give back to you. No reply, again. The next morning, I walked to his place. I didn't even knock. I buzzed, waited, and when he let me in, I just handed him the box. He didn't open it. He just stared at me and said, so, that's it? I said, unless you're willing to fight for me like I've been fighting for us, then yeah, that's it. He goes, I thought you loved me. I looked him straight in the eye and said, I did, but I love myself more. Walked out, didn't look back. By the time I got home, my email had a cancellation confirmation from the venue. A $2,000 deposit down the drain. Worth it. My mom cried. His mom posted a Facebook update about trusting God's plan. My therapist applauded. And me? I ordered sushi, blocked his number, and finally, slept through the night. 2 weeks after I walked away, I was finally starting to feel normal again. Not good, not great, but like I could make it through a full day without mentally drafting a rage email to Catherine. Then I ran into Jordan. Jordan is Tim's ex. We'd only met once, super briefly, at some faculty event. She's gorgeous, a pediatric nurse, and used to date Tim for like 3 years before he met me. When we passed each other in Whole Foods, she waved and said, hey, I heard about the wedding. I kind of nodded, awkward as hell, and said, yeah, it's off. She paused, then gave me this weird half smile and said, you okay? I shrugged. Eventually, I will be. It's just wild how quickly everything went sideways. She tilted her head. He pulled the stay-at-home wife thing, didn't he? I blinked. Wait, what? She laughed. Not like it was funny, more like, of course. Yeah, she said. He tried that with me too. Started out all progressive, supportive, then suddenly I'm supposed to be barefoot and baking scones while he leads the household. I thought it was just me. My jaw was on the floor. Are you serious? She nodded. It's his parents. They're obsessed with image. Tim plays it cool, but he always caves to their blueprint. I should have warned you. Apparently, she'd also been offered the exact same thing, a financial arrangement if she quit her job. She said no, they freaked, and Tim slowly pulled away until it imploded. And the cherry on top? Catherine had actually sent her the same book, The Power of a Praying Wife. I kid you not. It was like I'd stepped into a franchise. Tim's Exes, Season 2. We ended up grabbing coffee and talking for 2 hours. She told me something I haven't been able to forget. You didn't lose anything. You dodged a legacy. That hit hard. Because yeah, I loved Tim, but I would have spent the next decade slowly disappearing. I would have shrunk myself into the version of a woman they were willing to tolerate. And the worst part? They still would have found ways to chip away at me. After that, I deleted the wedding Pinterest board. I closed the joint savings account. I took a weekend trip to Miami with my college roommates, danced until 3 a.m., and ordered overpriced margaritas without checking my bank balance. And when I got back, there was a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten, no return address. Inside was a note from Charles. Yeah, Charles. It said, "You're not what we envisioned for our son, but you were the first woman who stood up to us without flinching. I don't like you, but I respect you." Underneath was a check for 143s. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my bagel. I didn't cash it, I framed it. It hangs by my door now, right next to a print that says, "Don't settle for the life you're given, build the one you want." So no, I'm not married, but I'm free. And I'd rather be alone than married to someone who needed his mommy's approval to love me. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.